The garage buzzed with the clang of tools, roaring engines, and the usual banter of grease-covered mechanics. It wasn't a place for the faint-hearted. Amid the chaos, Elena knelt beside a battered Toyota Camry, her brow furrowed as she attempted to loosen a bolt with a stripped wrench. Her fingers were raw, her gloves threadbare, but she never stopped moving. She was the only female mechanic in the entire garage. Most days, Elena arrived before sunrise and left long after dark, working harder than any of her peers. Not to prove herself to them, but to survive. Life hadn't given her many breaks, but she refused to let that define her. What others saw as weakness, she turned into strength. In the background, a man in a grey hoodie swept the floor slowly, watching silently. No one paid him much attention. They assumed he was the new janitor. In reality, Daniel Carter, the CEO of Iron Tech Auto Services, had walked into his own garage undercover. Daniel wasn't there by accident. Complaints had been stacking up from customers, profits dipping. He wanted answers not from reports or spreadsheets, but from the shop floor. He disguised himself to see the truth, and what he saw in Elena shocked him. While others stood around chatting or cutting corners, Elena was deep in focus. She handled multiple customer cars, solved problems without formal support, and worked with tools that looked like they hadn't been replaced in a decade. He saw her crouch beneath a car that was barely elevated on a shaky jack. A safety hazard. She knew it. But she had no choice. She wiped the sweat from her forehead and kept going. A few feet away, two senior mechanics stood watching and laughing. "Still trying to be one of us?" one sneered. Daniel clenched his fists, but stayed silent. At lunchtime, while most of the team gathered to eat or rest, Elena headed to a storage closet. Daniel followed discreetly. Inside, she pulled out a cracked metal case. Her own tools, bought second-hand, many of them damaged. She began trying to repair a broken torque wrench with a soldering iron. Daniel couldn't believe it. She wasn't just fixing cars, she was fixing the very tools she was expected to work with. Later that day, a furious customer stormed in. His luxury sedan hadn't been fixed properly during a previous visit. No mechanic wanted to take responsibility. Except Elena. "I'll take care of it," she said calmly. The man looked skeptical but nodded. 3 hours later, he left smiling, the car running smoother than ever. Elena didn't even look up to accept his thanks. Daniel watched it all unfold. In the span of one day, he had seen everything wrong and right about his company. Elena didn't just deserve recognition. She deserved a future. But she had no idea that the man sweeping floors was about to change her life. The next morning, the garage returned to its usual rhythm. Metal grinding, music blaring, and engines roaring. Elena was already under a lifted SUV, her coveralls stained with oil, when the garage door swung open. In walked the same man who had been quietly sweeping floors the day before, but now he wasn't in a hoodie. He wore a sharp, tailored suit. The workers froze. Elena peeked from under the vehicle, squinting at the sudden silence. Her wrench clinked on the concrete as she stood. "Good morning," the man said, his voice calm but commanding. "I'm Daniel Carter, CEO of Iron Tech." Mouths dropped. One of the senior mechanics, Greg, let out a nervous chuckle. "Wait, you're the janitor guy?" Daniel's eyes narrowed. "I was observing, not cleaning." He turned and faced Elena, who stood stunned. "I came here undercover to see what was really going on, and what I saw was disturbing and inspiring." He gestured toward a stack of worn-out tools. "Most of you have access to working equipment, safe lifts, proper schedules. Yet I watched some of you cut corners, mock your own teammate, and ignore customer needs." The room was silent. Daniel then looked directly at Elena. "And I saw one person, one woman, doing the work of 3 mechanics. with broken tools, unsafe conditions, and zero complaints. Elena's throat tightened. Her eyes glistened, but she stayed quiet. Daniel turned to his assistant, who had just entered the garage with a folder. Effective immediately. These changes are being made. He opened the folder. First, a full audit of this facility will be conducted. Anyone found neglecting safety protocols or bullying coworkers will face consequences, including termination. Some mechanics exchanged nervous glances. Second, every mechanic will be retrained on customer service and ethics, and new tools will be issued by the end of the week. He took a breath and smiled. And finally, Elena, her heart skipped. I'd like to offer you the position of lead technical supervisor for this location, with a full salary, increase benefits, and your own team to train. You've already proven you can lead under pressure. Now I want you to lead with power. Elena's jaw dropped. Her lips trembled. I don't know what to say. Daniel stepped forward. Say yes, and keep being exactly who you are. The workers applauded, some hesitantly, others sincerely. Greg, the one who had mocked her earlier, couldn't meet her eyes. Later that day, Elena walked into her small apartment, still trying to process what had happened. Her hands, usually covered in grease, now held a letter, her official promotion. On her kitchen table sat a brand new set of tools, personally delivered by Daniel's assistant. But the best part? A handwritten note. Thank you for reminding me that strength doesn't need a title to shine, Daniel. She smiled through tears. From that day on, the garage wasn't just a place of noise and engines, it was a place of respect. Because one woman armed with courage and a worn-out wrench had turned the whole system around. And the CEO, he didn't just find a leader, he found hope under the hood.